Shocking. A younger man has planned this. You will cry. Why is this younger man suddenly taking such a massive action in your life? Because he feels a driving, almost obsessive need to break the stagnation that's been holding both of you back for months, and he can't handle the distance anymore. What exactly is he planning to do behind your scenes right now? He is preparing a sudden, completely unannounced confrontation or confession that will totally catch you off guard, disrupting your daily routine and forcing you to look at him differently. What is the exact nature of this plan he's been cooking up? He's designing a scenario where you cannot say no to him, putting all his pride on the line to offer you a level of commitment or a raw truth that he previously laughed off or avoided because of his age or immaturity. Why will this specific action make you cry so intensely? Because the sheer emotional weight of what he delivers will instantly shatter a wall of doubt you built to protect yourself, releasing months of pent-up anxiety and pain in a sudden flood of tears. How does he feel about the age difference between you two at this very moment? He used to think it gave you all the power, but now he views it as a challenge, a barrier he is determined to burn down just to prove he can handle your world and protect you. What is his biggest fear regarding how you will react to his upcoming move? He is absolutely terrified that you will judge him as just a boy playing games, or that you'll look right through him and reject the genuine heavy emotional burden he's about to lay at your feet. Who is helping him orchestrate this plan? Or is he acting completely alone? He is keeping this entirely to himself, brooding in isolation, because he knows anyone else would tell him he's being too impulsive, too reckless, and too intense with you. Why has he chosen this exact timing to flip your world upside down? Because he sees you starting to heal, starting to look away from him, and the mere thought of you moving on or finding peace without him makes him feel like he's losing his grip on reality. What will be the first thing he says to you when this plan goes live? He's going to speak with a raw, unfiltered honesty that contradicts everything he said in the past, admitting that his previous coldness was nothing but a weak mask to hide how deeply you shook his foundation. How will your daily life change the day after this emotional explosion happens? You will find yourself forced to make a definitive, heavy choice between the safe, quiet path you were building and the chaotic, passionate, yet terrifyingly unpredictable future he is offering you. Why did he hide his true intentions from you for such a long time? He hid them because his ego couldn't handle the vulnerability of loving someone who carries themselves with your strength, and he needed time to build up the courage to face you as an equal. What is the ultimate outcome of the tears you're going to shed over this younger man? Those tears will act as a massive purging mechanism, clearing out the old hurt and leaving you standing in a space of absolute clarity, where you finally see exactly how much power you truly hold over his heart. What specific vulnerability is he trying to exploit within you by making this sudden move? He knows that beneath your strong, independent exterior, you carry a deep, hidden longing to be truly taken care of and chosen without having to ask for it. So he is targeting that exact emotional soft spot to break down your defenses. Why does he feel so entitled to just crash back into your reality whenever he pleases? He feels this entitlement because the energetic bond between you two has never actually gone cold, and he senses your private thoughts and your lingering desire for him just as strongly as you feel his presence in your mind. How does he plan to handle the inevitable backlash or anger you will throw at him initially? He is fully prepared to sit there and take whatever fire, resentment, or bitter words you spit at him, because he believes that your anger is just the flip side of your passion, and that as long as you are feeling something intense toward him, he still has a chance. What is the darker, more selfish side of this hidden plan he's harboring? The truth is, he cannot stand the thought of anyone else discovering the depth of your magic. So part of his rush is driven by a possessive urge to claim your attention before someone more mature or stable steps into your life. What has he been doing in his private life over the last few weeks to prepare for this moment? He's been completely isolating himself, pulling away from his usual social circles and distractions, staring at your pictures, and rehearsing the exact words he wants to say to you until he's driven himself nearly crazy with anticipation. Why will his confession feel like a total betrayal of his past behavior? Because he spent so much time playing it cool, acting detached, or even pretending that he didn't care about you, that hearing him speak with this level of raw, desperate gravity will make you feel like you were dealing with a completely different person before. What is the specific material or physical token he might bring with him to seal this encounter? He is planning to bring something that holds a deep, highly specific sentimental value between you two. Perhaps a small item you thought he forgot about, or an object connected to a shared memory. Just to prove to you that every single detail of your time together has been permanently burned into his mind. How will your friends or family react when they find out what this younger man has pulled? They are going to be absolutely furious and deeply skeptical, warning you that he is too unstable or too young to give you what you deserve, which will only add to the heavy pressure and confusion tearing you apart inside. Why does he believe that tears are the only proper currency for the love you share? He believes this because your connection has never been light or easy. It has always been a transformational alchemical fire, and he feels that if a love doesn't make you cry, it doesn't truly matter or possess the power to change your life. What will happen if you try to shut the door in his face and refuse to listen to his explanation? If you block him or turn away, he will not simply disappear this time. His obsession has reached a boiling point where he will find alternative, highly creative ways to force his message through, whether that means showing up at your physical doorstep or using mutual connections to deliver his truth. How has his perception of your value changed since the last time you two spoke? He used to think you were just a beautiful, alluring distraction, but during this period of separation, he realized that you are the standard against which every other person fails miserably, and he now views you as a prize he cannot afford to lose. What is the exact lie he told himself about you that has finally collapsed? He lied to himself by thinking he could easily replace your energy with someone younger, simpler, or less demanding. But that illusion completely fell apart the moment he realized that no one else possesses your depth, your wisdom, or your intoxicating aura. Why will you feel a profound sense of grief alongside the shock when he delivers this news? You will grieve for the time wasted, for the agonizing nights you spent wondering why you weren't enough, and for the realization that everything you wanted from him months ago was actually real, but it arrived only after you had already started the painful process of tearing him out of your heart. How does he plan to prove to you that he has actually grown up and isn't just delivering another empty promise? He is going to present you with concrete, undeniable life changes he has made in secret, perhaps regarding his career, his living situation, or his personal discipline, to show you that he has actively built a foundation capable of holding a real relationship with you. What is the hidden spiritual lesson behind this chaotic breakthrough he is forcing upon you? The universe is using his intense disruptive energy to test whether you will fall back into old patterns of codependency and anxiety, or if you will stand firmly in your power and dictate the absolute terms of how you deserve to be loved. Why is he so utterly convinced that you two are meant to be together despite all the obvious red flags? He is convinced because he experiences vivid, recurring dreams of you that feel entirely real, and he interprets these energetic visitations as a direct command from the universe to stop running and claim his destiny with you. What will be the ultimate fate of the connection after this massive emotional storm finally passes? Once the tears dry and the truth is laid bare, the dynamic will be permanently altered, leaving you with a relationship that can never return to the casual, uncertain games of the past, forcing both of you to either build something monumentally powerful or walk away forever with no regrets left on the table. How will this encounter change the way you view your own desirability and power moving forward? It will serve as an unforgettable reminder that your energy is incredibly potent, capable of completely bringing a proud, stubborn man to his knees and forcing him to change his entire life just to stay in your orbit. What is the very next step he is going to take within the next 48 hours to put this plan into motion? He is currently drafting the initial message or setting up the exact circumstances for a coincidental meeting, fine-tuning the timing to ensure that when he strikes, you will be in a position where you cannot simply ignore him or run away from the truth. Why will you find it almost impossible to hate him for the chaos he is about to cause? You won't be able to hate him because the vulnerability in his eyes and the shaking in his voice will reveal a level of terrifying honesty that you have never witnessed from any man before, leaving you completely undone. What is the deepest, darkest secret he is keeping about the true motive behind this sudden plan? The absolute truth is that he feels completely broken and lost without your guidance, and this entire grand gesture is a desperate, selfish attempt to anchor himself to your stable energy because his own life is spiraling into chaos and he views you as his only salvation. Why does he think that causing you pain through this shock is an acceptable price to pay for your attention? He operates on a raw, immature logic that believes a negative emotional reaction from you is infinitely better than cold indifference, and he would rather see you weeping with passion or frustration than looking at him with calm, detached eyes that show you no longer care. How did he manage to keep this intense obsession hidden from you during your recent interactions? He channeled all of his desperate energy into creating a false front of extreme busyness or indifference, intentionally ignoring your social media or staying away from places where you might meet, solely because he knew that if he caught even a glimpse of you, his composure would totally shatter before his plan was fully ready. What is the exact conversation he had with himself right before deciding to commit to this reckless move? He stood in front of a mirror and told himself that if he doesn't act right now, he will lose you to someone else forever, deciding that it is better to risk complete ruin and your absolute fury than to spend the rest of his life wondering what would have happened if he had just been brave enough to claim you. Why will you feel a sudden, unexplainable physical sensation in your body just hours before he initiates this contact? Your intuition is highly attuned to his frequency, and as his anxiety and determination reach a fever pitch, you will experience a sudden tightness in your chest, a wave of heat, or an unaccountable restlessness that is actually the energetic shockwave of his decision rushing toward your field. How does he plan to handle your logical arguments about why a relationship between you two cannot work? He doesn't plan to argue with logic at all. His strategy is to bypass your brain entirely and appeal directly to your physical and emotional memory, using intense eye contact, a breaking voice, and raw vulnerability to make all of your sensible objections feel completely irrelevant in the heat of the moment. What has been the most painful realization for him while watching you thrive from a distance? It absolutely killed his ego to realize that your world didn't stop spinning when he walked away, and seeing you look beautiful, independent, and completely fulfilled without his presence made him realize that he is the one who is deeply lacking, not you. Why will his upcoming actions force you to look at your past relationships in a completely new light? Because none of the mature, older, or more conventional partners you've had ever possessed the sheer, terrifying audacity to fight for you with this kind of unhinged, all-consuming intensity, which will make you question whether you've ever actually been loved with this level of raw passion before. What is the specific risk he is taking with his own reputation or social standing to make this happen? He is willing to look completely foolish, desperate, and weak in front of anyone who might witness this outburst, completely discarding his carefully constructed image of a cool, detached younger guy just to throw himself at your mercy. Why does he secretly believe that you owe him this chance to explain himself? He holds a stubborn belief that because he was the one who triggered your deepest insecurities and forced you to grow, he has earned the right to be the one who heals those wounds and reaps the rewards of the stronger, more radiant version of you that exists today. How will this shocking event disrupt your current career or creative focus? The sheer emotional exhaustion of dealing with his sudden presence and the weight of his confessions will make it almost impossible for you to focus on your daily tasks, pulling your mind into a constant state of analysis as you try to untangle his words and figure out if he is being genuine or just running another highly sophisticated game on your heart. What is the one thing you could say to him during this confrontation that would completely destroy his spirit? If you look him dead in the eyes with absolute coldness and tell him that you feel absolutely nothing but pity for his immaturity, his entire facade will collapse instantly, leaving him entirely defenseless and broken in front of you. Why is the universe allowing him to disturb your peace at a time when you are finally feeling stable? This disruption is happening because your stability was built on avoiding the pain rather than truly resolving it, and the universe is throwing him back into your path to force you to look at your lingering attachments, ensuring that whatever choice you make next is done with absolute, tested certainty. What is his ultimate fantasy of how this night will end after the tears have been shed? He envisions a moment of absolute surrender where you finally stop fighting the connection, let down your guard completely, and allow him to hold you in a way that signals a total reset of your history, wiping away the months of silence with a single, intense embrace. How will you know for absolute certain that he is telling the truth this time and not just manipulating you? You will know it through the terrifying lack of control in his demeanor. He won't have his usual smooth words or charming smiles, but will instead appear desperate, sweating, or completely unable to maintain a coherent narrative because his emotions are completely overwhelming his ability to play a role. Why does he feel that a regular, polite text message or an email would be an absolute insult to the depth of what he feels? He believes that digital communication is for cowards and casual acquaintances, and because he views what you share as a once-in-a-lifetime fated connection, he demands a high-stakes, real-world theatrical moment that matches the epic scale of his internal obsession. What is the heavy burden of responsibility you will have to carry if you decide to accept his apology and let him back in? You will have to accept the fact that you are taking on a project, a man who is still actively learning how to handle his immense power and emotions, meaning you will constantly have to navigate his impulsive nature and guide him through the complexities of a mature partnership. Why will you find yourself crying not just out of sadness, but out of a profound sense of relief during this encounter? The relief comes from the sudden, massive validation that you weren't crazy, that your intuition was right all along, and that the deep, silent connection you felt vibrating between you two during the dark months of separation was fully real and reciprocated on his end. What is the very first boundary you must establish the second he finishes his dramatic speech? You must instantly refuse to give him an answer on the spot, forcing him to sit with the discomfort of your silence and proving to him that his dramatic timing does not give him the right to dictate the pace of your emotional life or force the immediate surrender from your side. What specific aspect of your current life is he most deeply jealous of as he watches you from the shadows? He is completely consumed by envy over the new social circle and the mysterious, attractive people you've been surrounding yourself with lately, as his mind constantly invents worst-case scenarios where someone older, more established, and more financially stable is successfully sweeping you off your feet. Why does he genuinely believe that his youth is an asset to you rather than a liability in this situation? He thinks his youth brings a raw, unjaded vitality, a wild passion, and an uncomplicated devotion that the exhausted, calculated men of your own age could never replicate, believing he can make you feel alive, reckless, and youthful in a way you haven't felt in years. How has his physical health or appearance been affected by this agonizing period of hiding his feelings? He is visibly thinned out, looking tired and haunted, with dark circles under his eyes from sleepless nights spent pacing his room, because the sheer energetic toll of containing this massive emotional truth has been physically draining his life force. What is the exact role that a specific mutual friend played in pushing him to finally execute this shocking plan? This mutual friend explicitly told him that you were actively looking at other options and moving on for good, which hit his ego like a physical blow and triggered a state of sheer panic, forcing him to realize that his time for playing safe, childish mind games had completely run out. Why will you feel a sudden wave of guilt as you watch him break down in front of you? You will feel guilty because you will see how genuinely tortured he has been, making you realize that while you were cursing his name and assuming he was out partying and forgetting about you, he was actually living in his own private hell, paralyzed by the fear of your rejection. What is the absolute worst thing he has envisioned happening during this high-stakes confrontation? He has a recurring nightmare that you will look at him with completely blank, polite, stranger-like eyes, smile mildly at his desperate confession, and calmly tell him that you've found someone else who truly satisfies your needs, which would absolutely break his spirit beyond repair. Why does he feel an intense need to prove his financial or material readiness to you during this specific encounter? He knows that you value stability and security, so he is planning to aggressively highlight his recent professional wins or a new financial plan he's set up, desperately trying to show you that he isn't just a broke, dreaming boy anymore, but a man capable of building a real, tangible future by your side. How will your inner child respond to the dramatic words that come out of his mouth? Your inner child will want to scream with joy and immediately surrender, because his words will perfectly mirror the exact validation, choosing, and deep adoration that you have been starved of in past relationships where you always had to be the strong, nurturing one. What is the hidden trap within his beautiful confession that you need to be extremely careful of? The trap is his intense emotional codependency. He is essentially placing the entire responsibility for his happiness and his future path onto your shoulders, and if you aren't careful, you will find yourself slipping right back into the exhausting role of his therapist, mother, and guide, rather than his equal partner. Why is he choosing to stage this confrontation in a semi-public or highly specific setting rather than a private space? He is intentionally choosing a location that holds a heavy, nostalgic, energetic charge for both of you, perhaps near where you first met or shared a significant look, using the environment itself as a psychological tool to weaken your defenses and trigger an instant flood of emotional memories. How will this younger man react if you demand that he goes to therapy or works on his deep-seated issues before you even consider giving him a chance? He will initially react with a defensive, wounded pride. But because his terror of losing you permanently is far greater than his ego, he will ultimately submit to your terms, agreeing to do whatever psychological or emotional work you demand just to keep a foot in your door. Why will the tears you cry during this encounter permanently alter your physical appearance and aura over the following weeks? Those tears will act as a massive energetic purge, releasing years of accumulated romantic disappointment and heavy, stagnant energy, leaving your face looking noticeably brighter, your eyes clearer, and your overall presence completely magnetic to everyone around you. What is the exact lie he is currently telling his own friends about why he is taking this reckless action? He is telling them that he is just going to get some closure and settle some unfinished business with you, completely lying to them because he is too proud to admit to his peers how thoroughly a mature woman has captured his soul and brought him to his knees. Why does the universe want you to experience this shocking disruption right as you were achieving a sense of peaceful independence? The universe is testing the authenticity of your boundaries to see if your newfound peace was just a fragile shield built on the absence of temptation, or if you have truly developed the fierce self-love required to dictate exact, uncompromising terms to a chaotic, passionate lover. What is the very first thing he will do if you ask him to leave you alone and give you a week to think about his confession? He will walk away with his head down, looking completely crushed. But he will not be able to keep his promise. Within 24 hours, he will be blowing up your phone or sending long paragraphs of text because his anxiety will completely overwhelm his ability to give you proper space. How will this entire situation rewrite the power dynamic that existed between you two during the initial phases of your connection? It will completely flip the script, stripping him of his untouchable, cool guy status and placing all the cards firmly in your hands, forcing him to realize that he is the one who must constantly work, adapt, and prove himself worthy of staying in your majestic presence. Why will you find yourself laughing through your tears at a certain point during this intense meeting? You will laugh because the sheer absurdity and theatricality of his desperation will cut through the heavy tension, making you realize how incredibly comedic it is that this proud, stubborn younger man has been completely reduced to a sweating, stammering mess, all because of his love for you. What is the ultimate destiny of this connection if you choose to completely shut him out and walk away forever? He will become a permanent melancholic ghost in your past, a man who will spend years comparing every single woman he meets to your standard, always regretting the day his own immaturity caused him to lose the only real magic he ever touched in his life. What is the exact memory of you that triggered his final breakdown and made him plan this sudden intrusion? It was a completely random moment last week when he saw a casual picture of you looking radiant, happy, and entirely detached from his existence, which made his heart drop into his stomach as the terrifying realization hit him that you were genuinely learning to breathe and smile without him. Why does he feel a toxic need to see you cry during this upcoming confrontation? He doesn't want to cause you malicious harm, but his insecure ego desperately needs the visual proof of your tears to confirm that he still possesses the power to move you, to shake your soul, and to disrupt your carefully constructed emotional armor. How has his behavior toward other women changed since he locked in this secret plan? He has completely shut down all casual conversations, deleted dating apps, and stopped responding to superficial attention from women his own age, because his mind has become a hyper-focused tunnel where every single person who isn't you feels like an utterly boring, black and white waste of his time. What is the specific promise he intends to make to you that he has never offered to anyone else before? He is planning to swear absolute unconditional loyalty to you, offering to give you full transparency over his life, his phone, and his schedule, just to quiet your natural suspicions and prove that he is ready to act like a mature, trustworthy grown man. Why will you feel a sharp pang of anger right in the middle of his emotional breakdown? You will feel a sudden rush of heat and fury because you will realize how incredibly selfish it is for him to show up with all this intense love only after he saw you successfully moving on, making you want to scream at him for keeping you in the dark while you were weeping yourself to sleep months ago. How does he plan to react if you mock his intensity, or call his sudden plan a ridiculous childish game. He will look like he's been physically struck, his face going completely pale. But instead of turning defensive and running away like he used to, he will swallow his pride, look you dead in the eyes, and tell you that he deserves your mockery, but he isn't leaving until you hear the truth. What is the hidden role that his own mother or a maternal figure played in shaping this dramatic decision? He secretly vented to an older woman in his life about his overwhelming regret, and she gave him a harsh reality check, telling him that a woman of your caliber will never wait around for a boy to grow up, which effectively lit a fire under him and drove him into this current state of absolute panic. Why will the atmosphere in the room feel so heavy and suffocating the moment he begins to speak? The air will feel thick because of the massive buildup of unspoken karmic energy that has been fermenting between you two during the silence, making the room feel like a pressure cooker where months of hidden longing are suddenly exploding into reality. What is the exact lie he told himself about your age difference that is completely shattered during his period of isolation? He used to tell himself that you were too demanding, too structured, or too far ahead in life for him to ever truly fit in. But he now realizes that those exact qualities are what make you a queen, and that trying to settle for someone simpler was just an act of cowardice on his part. How will this shocking encounter affect your ability to trust your own intuition moving forward? It will actually reinforce your psychic confidence in a massive way, because you will suddenly connect all the dots and realize that every single time you randomly felt his energy, dreamt of him, or woke up with a heavy heart over the last few weeks, he was actively thinking of you and plotting this exact move. Why is he secretly terrified of the wisdom and maturity you possess? He is terrified because your eyes see right through his bravado, meaning he cannot use his usual charm, good looks, or playful words to manipulate your perspective, forcing him to stand before you completely exposed, with no tricks left to hide his deep-seated flaws. What will be his immediate reaction if you tell him that you need a few days to discuss his sudden return with your closest friends? He will look absolutely miserable and desperate, begging you to keep this strictly between the two of you for now, because he knows your friends see him as a red flag and will immediately try to talk sense into you and protect you from his chaotic energy. Why will you find yourself mourning your peaceful single life during the very first week after this confrontation? You will mourn it because his return will instantly bring back the high-stakes emotional intensity, the late-night overthinking, and the electric, disruptive passion that makes it impossible to maintain a quiet, predictable, and simple daily routine. What is the cosmic debt he is trying to settle with you through this massive, grand gesture? In a past cycle, he took your love for granted and left you hanging in a state of painful uncertainty, so the universe has engineered this current situation to force him to feel the exact same agonizing vulnerability, putting his entire heart on the line with zero guarantees of safety. How does he plan to handle the physical distance or logistical barriers that currently stand between your lives? He is preparing to tell you that he is willing to completely rearrange his life, change his location, or commute any distance just to be near you, trying to remove every single practical excuse you could possibly use to turn him away. Why will you feel an overwhelming urge to hug him even while your brain is telling you to run in the opposite direction? Because the sheer magnetic pull between your bodies has only grown stronger during the starvation period of separation, and seeing him look so genuinely fragile and undone will trigger your deepest nurturing instincts before your logic can step in to stop it. What is the ultimate truth about whether this younger man can actually make you permanently happy? The truth is that he possesses the raw passion to make you feel incredibly alive, adored, and desired. But his consistency is still a massive gamble, meaning that letting him back in will always require you to keep one foot firmly on the ground to ensure he doesn't pull you back into his unstable loops. How will this entire experience change the way you carry yourself in the world after the dust settles? It will elevate your self-worth to an untouchable level because you will realize that you possess the kind of rare, intoxicating feminine power that can completely derail a man's mind, forcing him to abandon his ego and risk everything just for a chance to stand in your light. What specific nightmare about your future is driving his urgency to the point of literal madness right now? He has become completely obsessed with the idea that you are quietly planning a major life change, like moving to a different city, changing your career, or entering a serious, committed relationship with a mature man, which makes him feel like a massive iron door is about to slam shut between your worlds forever, leaving him locked out in the cold. Why does he think that forcing this intense confrontation right now will fix his own broken self-esteem? He has realized that his confidence was entirely dependent on your silent validation, and without your eyes reflecting his worth back at him, he feels completely invisible, hollow, and desperately needs to trigger a powerful reaction from you just to feel alive and relevant again. How did he react the last time he accidentally saw a notification or a trace of you online? His heart literally skipped a beat, his hands started shaking, and he spent the next 6 hours overanalyzing every single syllable, color, and song choice you posted, convincing himself that your entire digital presence is a hidden code directed entirely at him. What is the exact phrase he keeps repeating like a mantra in his head as he builds up the courage to execute this plan? He keeps telling himself that it is better to be completely hated and rejected by you to his face than to spend the next 10 years wondering why he was too much of a coward to fight for the only woman who ever truly saw his soul. Why will you feel a sudden, inexplicable sense of anger the moment you look into his eyes during this confrontation? You will be furious because you'll instantly recognize that he still has that same intoxicating, effortless power over your emotions. And it will madden you to realize that despite all your heavy healing, self-care, and spiritual progress, this younger man can still walk into your space and turn your entire inner world upside down with a single look. How does he plan to handle your demands for absolute, boring, everyday consistency if you decide to let him back in? He is going to promise you the moon and the stars, claiming he is ready to settle down, establish a routine, and do the boring work. But deep down, he is terrified because he knows his natural state is chaotic, and he's praying that his raw passion will be enough to make you overlook his lack of long-term stability. What is the biggest illusion about you that he had to completely burn down before he could make this move? He had to destroy the comforting lie that you were just a temporary phase, a passing crush, or someone he could easily replace with a simpler, less demanding girl his own age, finally admitting to his darkest self that you are a permanent fixture in his psyche. Why will your tears feel like a literal baptism for his guilty conscience when they finally start falling? He carries a massive, crushing weight of guilt for how poorly he treated your devotion in the past, and seeing you cry will make him feel like his sins are finally being washed away, letting him believe that your shared pain is the ultimate proof that your bond is still alive and worth saving. Who is the secret rival he has invented in his own head that he is actively competing against for your affection? He has created a phantom version of the perfect partner for you, someone older, wealthy, completely stable, and emotionally articulate, and he is driving himself absolutely insane trying to figure out how he can outshine this imaginary competitor using nothing but his raw youth, physical magnetism, and unfiltered, desperate honesty. Why will you find it almost impossible to maintain a cold, distant tone when he starts speaking about his deepest insecurities? You will struggle because he is going to strip away all his arrogant armor and speak with the fragile vulnerability of a boy who is completely lost, triggering your deep natural instinct to comfort him and make the pain go away, even when your logical mind is screaming at you to stand firm. What is the exact material sacrifice he is willing to make right now just to prove his devotion to your connection? He is prepared to completely abandon a specific social circle, a job opportunity, or a lifestyle choice that you previously expressed discomfort with, throwing it all away like garbage just to show you that your peace of mind is infinitely more valuable to him than his own personal comfort or freedom. How will this shocking event alter the way you interact with other men who try to pursue you over the next few months? It will make everyone else look completely boring, flat, and devoid of flavor, because this younger man's absolute unhinged intensity will remind you of what it feels like to be hunted, desired, and fought for with an all-consuming cinematic passion that regular safe men simply do not possess. Why does the universe want you to experience this massive emotional storm precisely at this point in your life? The universe is demanding that you finally graduate from your past patterns by forcing you to face your ultimate temptation, testing whether you will allow this chaotic, passionate energy to pull you back into a loop of anxiety, or if you will successfully maintain your high throne and make him rise up to your level. What will be his immediate reaction if you calmly tell him that you've completely forgiven him, but have zero interest in ever reviving the relationship? He will look completely paralyzed, as if his entire reality has just shattered into a million pieces, and he will likely break down completely, begging you not to close the book on your story because he genuinely doesn't know how to navigate his future without the hope of your love. Why will you find yourself checking your phone with a manic, anxious energy the morning after this intense meeting takes place? You will be trapped in a massive dopamine crash after the sheer theatrical high of his confession, your nervous system buzzing with a mix of fear, excitement, and disbelief as you wait to see if he will actually maintain this intense energy, or if he will immediately panic and pull back into his shell. What is the ultimate karmic lesson that he is learning through the agony of this self-inflicted separation from you? He is learning the hard way that you cannot play games with a high vibrational woman without burning your own house down, and that the universe will ruthlessly strip away a man's peace if he treats a genuine soul-level connection like a casual pastime. How will your friend's continuous warnings about his immaturity start to affect your mental state as the days go on? Their words will create a massive, agonizing friction inside your head, making you feel completely isolated because no one else can understand the intense, unspoken telepathic and physical pull you share with him, leaving you torn between the safe, logical advice of people who love you and the wild, chaotic command of your own heart. What is the very first thing you must do to protect your energy the second he walks away from this explosive confrontation? You must immediately ground yourself, refuse to make any sudden promises or decisions, and give yourself permission to feel the full weight of the shock without rushing to fix his emotions or secure his fragile ego.